The four of you had varying degrees of restlessness the evening following the Battle of Urshrit. After the funerary service was held for the three young men of the banner, the White Wolf gathered his lieutenants into the house of the mayor once more. While you supped with your captain, Soren received your reports of the day's events from each of you in turn before falling silent, lost in contemplation. After a long silence, the young man finally speaks. All is lost if we cannot recover the mayor, or at the very least his daughter. Lord Corwin was explicit in that if we are unable to return his blood relatives, he has no recourse with his baron for what the Gotians have started. Already, you have exceeded my expectations, and my gratitude cannot be overstated. So, once again, I must ask something of you for that I have no right to. However, there are no finer warriors in my ranks, and none I have come to rely on in such a short period of time as you. To go myself would be to abandon my soldiers here in the field, and it is only a matter of time before the North's reinforcements arrive. Therefore, it appears I have no choice. Will you journey to this abandoned town, our captive mentioned, and rescue our Lord Patron's kin? He locks his aureate eyes upon each of you in turn to receive your answer.
Eric will nod.
Jasper just nods and gives a little salute. Half-hearted, but he means it.
Yara will nod as well, although she looks likely a bit more unsure than the rest of the party.
Hope it gives a short, it will be done.
Then come, there's someone I'd like you to meet. Soren ushers you, one by one, into the back room his gaze lingered on the last time you were gathered in this dining room, just hours ago. What followed was one of the most peculiar meetings you can ever recall having in your lives. You distinctly remember the weightless, hazy, dreamlike quality the world around you seemed to take on. The gentle candlelights bloomed with incandescence, colors previously lost to your sight dancing in the amber glow. That was when you met her. The first thing that you notice regarding her is a black silken cloth placed across her eyes, bound behind long, pointed ears. Skin of the most argent alabaster slips out from the shift of this captivating maiden. She says nothing and places her hand on the small round table opposite you. A black candle resting between you delicately flickers to life with a scintillating blue flame when your hand touches hers, and a voice of the most beautiful music speaks of events yet to unfold. What she tells you is for your ears and yours alone. One at a time, the four of you receive an augury from the blind seer, with no more medium than the touch of your hand. Each of you see the blue flame softly die at the end of her divination. Without a word, she returns her hands into the folds of her garment. We do not witness in this moment the specifics of what you receive, but this gift of what is to come keeps each of you up at that night for a different reason. Finally, slumber wreathes its tender embrace about you, and in a few hours you awaken to the sound of an active encampment milling about their duties. You find yourselves feeling restored, whatever wounds you acquired mended by a combination of Darinar's alchemy and Joachim's cooking. A thin layer of scar tissue is all you have to remember the damage your body endured, and your head has a clarity about it, as though you are truly seeing everything for the first time. After finishing your morning rituals, you look over your packs in preparation for the journey ahead. Satisfied, the four of you gather outside the mayor's house once again to depart the village of Urshrit and make for the abandoned mining village 2 days north. A party of mercenaries and auxiliaries has convened along the grass and spills over onto the worn dirt road. Joachim the Halfling is handing an expertly packed saddlebag to Toman, boasting of the meal he was able to smuggle in it for the wolves, while Amelia scrutinizes the shoddy leather tack Bessie the horse has been outfitted with. Other members of the banner look on in pride and aspiration as Soren approaches to exchange words with his wolves before they embark. We have prepared what supplies we can spare to send along with you. He fixes his gaze upon the party. Amelia tells me this horse is a spirited one. Ensure that you do not lose her off the road, or you might never find her. Clarence was kind enough to draw up this map for your journey. He hands over a folded piece of parchment to whoever is out front. I confess, I find it rather difficult to determine which direction is which. It seems more a list of landmarks and lines indicating which direction they headed. I hope it can be of some use to you. Arundel walks up at this point, having finished her very one-sided conversation with Cole, the mute blacksmith that serves the banner. I convinced Darrenar to part with some of his stock. This mission is do or die for all of us. No pressure, eh? Also, I took the liberty of packing some of the extra weapons Jasper found squirreled away in the granary. You never know when you might need a good hammer or axe, and gods forbid you be caught out in the open without means to return in kind. You'll find some crossbows stashed away in there as well. Is there anything that you would like to say to the banner members before you leave?
I probably talk to Elman and tell him to stay strong.
You see a steely reserve in his eyes, as though he's made up his mind that he is exactly where he wants to be. He gives you a full smile, showing you his teeth, and pats you on the shoulder with a nod.
I'd like to find Amelia.
Sure, she's right there tending to the horse.
I, without saying a word, hand her the axe that was lodged in my chest for a good portion of that fight.
What's this?
This is a loan. I'm coming back for it.
What do you want me to do with it?
If somebody gets too close, I want you to hit them with it.
Her eyes go wide, and she kind of looks down at what responsibility you've just vested in her, and looks back up at you.
It's easy. You hit them with that end.
The sharp one.
See you in a few days. Firm pat on the back. Walk away.
Hey, be careful out there. There are legends. I remember reading back at Lord Corwin's estate. They mentioned things worse than that boar out in those woods. I know you can handle yourself. Just please make it back safe. Okay?
Yeah, I need the axe back.
Jasper, as you are preparing to, embark on this journey, Toman looks over at you and beaming says, "We're gonna have that drinking contest when you get back like you promised, right?"
Of that you can be sure. Yes, we will. You live long enough to see it. I promise I'll be back. I figure he's been on the rock waiting for the rest of the group, and he's probably got a parchment that he has open, a bunch of leaflets, and he's been writing in a quill with it when he's sort of poked. He sort of takes it and folds it up. Besides, if I wasn't back here, you'd all go drunk and stark raving mad without me. Someone's got to keep something resembling order here, unless you want the job.
He grins, he was already smiling, but his expression lightens even further, and he says, "I think I'll start with Bannerman."
Good. Very good. You'll do great. He stands up and turns around and just sort of looks for everyone. Now I got the fun part of the job. Additional calluses from hiking. He just sort of straightens himself up a little bit, cinches his belts, and he's ready to go.
The horse Bessie does what horses do. You can hear the sound of shoveling and kind of sweeping off. And Yara, that's when you notice Clarence, shovel in hand, cleaning up after the horse. No longer in ropes or bindings of any sort, but bereft of weapons for certain.
I give him a nod as I pass by, but I don't see the need to speak with him right now.
You figure that the word that you put in for him with your report to Soren last night was enacted upon immediately, and they set him loose, gave him the opportunity to join the banner, and he's starting at the bottom, but he's been accepted.
The start will be good for him, hopefully.
The four of you, with your new pack horse in tow, make your way out of the village of Urshrit. Toman and Amelia walking behind you, a little bit of time before they have to attend their morning duties, and when you get to the outskirts, you can still see them waving long after you have passed earshot.
Wait, was that the horse that bested Jasper in a duel?
I would say that Jasper bested the horse, but yes.
I would say I'm still standing. Yes, I'm not the one in the bridle. Thank you very much.
So, to be clear how the skill challenge is going to work, you need to reach 6 successes before you reach 3 failures. Otherwise, things will begin to set against you. The first failure is free. The consequences of the second failure are where things might begin to fall apart. You have a clock working against you. 9 days from when you first arrived in the village of Urshrit, you have to leave. The Goshens have reinforcements inbound. They will be here by the end of the week. You must save the mayor or his daughter and return with them by the week's end. So the four of you have been set out on your own to do this, and Soren wants the remainder of his forces there to protect in case they arrive early or they send scouting forces ahead. He does not know the size of the reinforcements coming, but he did share with you that he does not feel as though it's something that the Banner of the White Wolf could feasibly take on its own. He's under no delusions that just because you won your first battle and had such few casualties, that means that the rest of the campaign trail is going to go as easy for him as that.
This might be a little unconventional, but hear me out, guys. Use medicine to make a tonic for energy. That way we can travel for longer, like a tea.
That's awesome. I like that.
You just see Hope going into his little satchel, and he pulls out, little tiny bag, and he takes a little speck out of there. He dusts it, across the water and starts brewing it. He's like, "Don't look. This is." Well, he doesn't say that, but he does say that. Actually, he's brewing it in the corner there, and he's like, "Try this, Merrick. Might make you feel better."
Without a word, Merrick just knocks it back.
What's it taste like?
The worst thing you've ever drank, and it smells really bad, but proof is in the pudding, okay? You just gotta go with it.
Beautiful. Yeah. So you all take part of this concoction, and you do feel a bit more energized. The best way to describe it is like when you knock back some pre-workout and you got the jitters before you get to the gym.
Like Jasper would take a swig of this, and you would just hear him just go, "Oh, gods, that's horrible. Is that a note of mushroom? Did you get mushroom into a drink? How did you get mushroom in..." "Oh, okay." You'll just immediately start hiking again.
Departing from the village of Urshrit, it takes you a good couple of hours before you finally start to see the change of the landscape back to what it was when you were entering this area. The mist of the morning that you would expect to see begin to burn away by the sun's light does not do so. It clings to the mossy, fallen trees and the rooty undergrowths that line the abandoned road so long ago untended to.
I'd like to scout out ahead, as far ahead as I can, reasonably, and try and come up with the most direct path, given that the map is a little more abstract than direct in its directions. I'd like to try and make an athletics check to justify just covering as much ground as possible. Merrick drops off most of his gear into the wagon that we have and says, "I'll be back," and just sprints ahead. No time to talk or provide explanation. And cue a Rambo-like montage of him just ducking around in the woods off the road looking for the various landmarks that he saw on the map.
Merrick, you at this point come across a sound that is carrying through the woods. Speech that you are unfamiliar with from multiple voices. The closer that you get, the more the fog seems to congregate off of the road, as if it's a sea of mist sitting out of sight. You can see entities out in this mist, and you can hear their disparate, broken speech. It sounds like nothing that you're familiar with enough to recognize immediately.
Do the voices sound harsh? Like, can I glean any emotional content from them?
The tones are very guttural. It is very unlike the structure of Elven, Dwarven, or Common. If you were to ascribe a tone to it, it's agitated.
I would like to get closer. I want to see the source of these voices.
Make me a stealth check, please. To be clear, this does not count for the successes or failures. I'm going to roll a couple dice here.
Oh, cool. The dice have question marks on them. Playing D&D with the Riddler.
You get closer. You're getting to the point where you can discern multiple voices that are kind of almost shouting over each other in a cacophony. And then you hear one snap of a twig to your left, and there is nothing there. The fog is shrouding these figures. You can make out their shadows. Small, stocky, crooked-shaped shadows.
Have the voices stopped, or have they continued?
They're still going on. Can I get a perception check from you? Make this one a blind GM roll, please. You can make out the tree that they seem to all be standing around. Then a couple of the shadows go off to the sides and you lose sight of them through the thick mist. A couple of them, still standing beneath this tree, are looking up at something that is suspended, but it is just outside of the reach of your vision without getting a little bit closer.
I'm gonna risk it. I'm gonna get a little bit closer.
You can make out a creature that looks like a sick, twisted facsimile of both a mole rat and a hound, but it has been disemboweled, and it is suspended from its intestines like a cruel fruit of this tree. The two squat fellows gathered around it, one of them lost in thought, the other one lost in conversation, are none the wiser that you were there. But it appears that one of the ones to the side has seen you, Merrick. He's reaching for an arrow and holding his bow.
I am going to just wordlessly shout at him. Eric's a big guy. He's just going to scream at him.
Intimidation, please. You take the creature by surprise. The arrow falls out of its hand, and that is when from the road, the three of you can hear a barbaric yop carrying over the trees. I would like everyone to please roll initiative. I'll say that, Yara, you are the first person to hear Merrick's yelling. You come sprinting after him in the direction of his voice, and you are the first to arrive on the scene. What do you do?
I will move forward. I assume I already have my bow out since we are out in the wilderness, and you never know when danger may strike. I will take aim at this foe, and this will be hopefully a non-lethal shot, since I'm not entirely sure what's going on, but it seems as though Merrick may be in danger, so my best to aid him.
That is a crit through numbers. So go ahead and roll that critical damage.
He's certainly going down. Whether he survives or not, I can't say.
Where do you shoot him?
I think that Yara was, again, trying to go for a non-lethal shot and assume she was aiming for his calf, but instead accidentally got him in the thigh, right in the artery.
The arrow whistles through the air and sinks into this shadow, cutting its squat life short. It keels over, oozing black blood. You have one action remaining.
If I can see either of the other shadows in the tree, then I will take a shot in their direction.
Okay. Unfortunately, that misses.
Fair. They're in trees. They've got plenty of cover.
It's really hard to get a clear shot at them, especially because they're short. They're not human-sized, so it's hard to appropriately gauge. Now we go to Merrick.
These two fellows in front of me, do they look like they're drawing weapons at this point?
Definitely.
I am going to... Well, first of all, I said that I left my weapons on the cart with the rest of the team. Could we say that I kept Hawk's short sword with me because I was told by Soren to always keep that on my person?
Absolutely. I love you for bringing it up.
Cool. I'm going to draw that, and I'm going to perform a sudden, which is one action. I'm going to perform a sudden charge. This guy?
Oof.
I have 2 hero points. I'll spend 1 to reroll.
Exactly what you needed. How do you kill this guy?
Just cleave its head clean off.
Its oblong-shaped head comes off of its neck with a wet, squelching noise, and the creature collapses without a sound.
It's my turn.
All right, Hope's gonna dash in. He's gonna dash in screaming, letting Merrick know he's not alone in his trial by combat. I move 25, I move another 50.
Might not be close enough to get you directly next to somebody, but you might get closer.
I throw a dart at them is what I do.
The dart is caught in this creature's shield, your yell giving you away as you come running and fling the dart straight at him. Jasper, it is your turn.
After that. So, as Jasper hears Merrick just shout bloody murder, I figure that he's been sort of just sitting there writing, and then he hears that and immediately just takes the leaflets, rams them into one of his pouches, and just takes out his swords and begins to run in that direction. He is going to sprint towards this poor sod over here. As he has his blades drawn, he's going to be doing a sudden charge.
Nice.
And as he comes leaping through the brush, he's going to be blade drawn midway through, and he's going to take a swing at this guy, making an attack, and
Oh no.
I will re-roll that because it literally can't be any worse. Subtract the hero points. Try that dance again. One day I'll see what it looks like.
I'm sorry, buddy. You shatter his shield. As you come scrambling out from the brush, the dart that it was already in it has already splintered right in the middle of the shield. And with both of your swords, you cleave into this small creature. He barely gets his shield in place in time, and it shatters. He is now without a shield.
Last turn. That was all my actions.
What's everybody's passive perceptions?
15.
Jean?
15.
13.
So Jasper, as you come into this clearing, you can see one of these squat creatures sticking his head up from off to the side with an arrow he is letting fly right at you.
Thinking that he's just going to shout, "Get down!" And then I'm probably going to immediately eat an arrow.
He does hit. Ooh, that's rough. 6 damage. An arrow of black feathers hits you square in the side. Your armor catches the majority of the force, doesn't pierce anything vital, but it does knock the wind out of you. And when you turn to see where the creature is that did this to you, you see him squatting down even further, low to the ground, and moving in behind the underbrush. But you do have eyes on him. Now this Gretchen, still alive. Seeing an opening provided by the arrow lent to him by his comrade, he is going to try to seize the opportunity and misses with his strike. He's going to attempt a second one, which also falls short. The third, oh no. Flailing his short sword wildly, you parry twice, and then on the third attempt, it looks like he's going to try to stab you in the gut, and you simply kick his hand away, the blade stabbing into the ground. Merrick, you are not taken by surprise. When a arrow comes sailing by, you don't even have to move out of the way. When the second comes, however, it is another story entirely. The creature gets a critical hit. You look to your left as the arrow passes over your shoulder, just as the second arrow hits you in the spine. It doesn't break your back, but it sinks into the furs you wear, and you can feel a well of blood beginning to pool in your clothing.
I will have Yara move forward, her bow still in hand. She will take aim at the latest Gretchen.
Unfortunate. I'm sorry.
I have a feeling that was not going to hit.
Again, you're just used to targeting people-sized things, and these are so much smaller than people. It bobs and weaves as the arrows that would have hit it in the head or the gut come sailing by. Merrick, we go over to you, buddy.
For my first action, I would like to rage, make myself a little bit more survivable. And for my next trick, I would like to perform another sudden charge against this guy. And I'm going to make a strike against him with my short sword.
Oh no.
I'll spend my last hero point and re-roll that.
That is a hit. How does this Gretchen perish?
Merrick returns the favor and runs his falchions through this creature, lifting it up, and he takes it off of his sword.
You are sprayed with the same substance that is leaking from this thing's split open body. It cries out in pain before life leaves its dark red eyes.
And that's 3 actions, so that will be my turn.
Hope, it is your turn.
I'm gonna run after this guy over here on the left.
You're going to use your quick jump ability.
Yeah. I jump again. I'll come down with a kick. Flurry of blows.
How do you kill this Gretchen?
I give him a hefty kick from coming down from the high ground.
Absolutely. Its neck snaps with the force of your foot, and it crumples to the ground wordlessly. It is Jasper's turn.
So, Jasper's got this last guy. He's unarmed, has no shield, and Jasper's got both his swords out. So instead of just trying to kill this guy outright, Jasper is going to bring both his blades and sort of step forward a little bit. And as he does, he's just going to sort of put them around the Gretchen. Not necessarily like on their person, but around them, sort of like almost a cage. He's just going to go, so I can either close the blades and kill you, or you can surrender.
Go ahead, make a diplomacy roll.
He's hoping that this works.
It's very clear that he doesn't understand what you're saying, but the intimidation factor what has just happened to his little buddies around him kind of speaks volumes about the situation that he currently finds himself in. And he is going to drop the short sword.
That's what I was hoping. And he's just going to gesture with his blade for him to, like, lay on the ground. He's going to get close enough and just make sure that he sort of picks away the other equipment. Not super far, but far enough that the Gretchen can reach it. All right, this one's down. Anyone speak Gretchen?
We are out of combat, folks. What do you do?
You loot him.
Merrick is taking a second to calm himself down. And there's an arrow in his back, so he walks over and says, "Can I get a hand with this?"
After Yara's mishap trying to aid Jasper, she'll let Hope perform the medical aid.
Oh no.
Wait, I use a hero point because that's not good.
Yeah, you start tending to their wounds.
Get healed, bub.
Are you going to tend to Merrick's wounds as well?
Oh, yeah, I'll do that. Sweat going down my brow, just remembering my training, going over procedures, step by step, making sure the blood is saved. We don't like leaky bodies in our monastery.
Totally valid. So when you are tending to Merrick first, with the arrow sticking out of him, you notice that the fletching is this midnight violet and midnight blue, almost black. Merrick, I need you to make a will save.
Oh boy.
While you are tending to him, you notice that Merrick gets incredibly quiet. And for a second, you get a little bit worried, but then you look forward and you notice that he is in fact sleeping.
Get some rest, bud. Or let me inspect the arrow and come to a conclusion.
Occultism. That's an arrow.
Yara has moved over and sees Hope inspecting the arrow and offers to lend her expertise.
Sure. Why don't you go ahead and give us an occultism roll?
Yeah, it's just the arrow. He's just sleeping.
That's no ordinary arrow, my friend. And he's not sleeping.
Half right. It is no ordinary arrow, but he is actually sleeping. The arrowhead is splintered, but you can make out what was two halves of a rune that you yourself have witnessed your people using. This is clearly something that long ago these Gretchens either stole the methods of how to create, but the arrow itself is designed to put a target to sleep, regardless of however much damage they receive from it.
Do you happen to have any unused arrows? The Gretchen that shot that one?
The one that shot that one, no. But you see the one that Merrick beheaded does have one of those arrows sticking out of its quiver. You also find on the same one two of these green files. They have a very crude carving of a skull on them, and when you flick open the lid, noxious vapors kind of billow forth from it. They tingle your nostril, and it immediately makes you close it again.
Do an Arcana check on the vial.
Occultism.
That's no ordinary vial, and he's still not sleeping. I don't care what anyone says.
You recognize these as vials of acid. They are not particularly potent, but they are useful enough to burn through organic matter, potentially burn into stone or through bone.
Do I know if the sleeping arrow will just wear off on its own? Should we be concerned about Merrick, or can we literally let him sleep it off?
You know that it's safe to wake someone if they've been hit with a sleep arrow.
I'll let Hope know and allow Hope to continue tending his skin. With Yara's luck, she might just accidentally stab him with this other sleeping arrow.
Learning this information, Hope is like, wake up, Merrick. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up.
One more time, I don't think I heard you.
Wake up. I start shaking him. I proffer a piece of beef jerky, his favorite, actually. Smell this, my friend.
Like he starts chewing on it.
What the gods are you all doing back there? Jasper's got this guy still at, like, sword point on the ground.
Why is he still alive?
He said, does anyone speak Gretchen?
No. Again, why is he alive?
Well, if they've set one ambush, it wouldn't be impossible to imagine they might have set more than one. Large woods. Might be more bandits than these. Figured it'd be useful to try to get some information out of him.
Second question, who's with Bessie?
And he's just gonna do, like, the full-on whistle, like, Betsy! Like, as hard as he can.
Yeah, not too long. I'd say maybe about 20 seconds or so, you can start hearing the clip, clop, and Bessie comes into the clearing with your packs in tow.
Oh, good. You did listen.
We can't be sure this was an ambush. Maybe it was Merrick doing the ambushing.
That's why I'm hoping someone here might be able to speak Gretchen.
I have an idea. And Merrick is going to try to cut down the rat dog thing hanging from the tree.
It lands with a sickening noise and does not stir.
I points to it and shout over to it again, wordlessly. The Gretchen that Jasper's sword points.
Look of terror passes over the poor fellow's face as he sees his beloved Gretch hound so mirthlessly released from where it was tied in the tree, and the threatening noises that are carrying over the woods. He tries to start backing up and then looks up to Jasper, who's still got swords pointed at him, and stops moving very quickly.
What's the Gretch hound?
Would you like to make a nature or an occultism check for me? It is a strange creature that has the resemblance of a small, emaciated wolf and a naked mole rat.
These forests, they're strange.
Jasper's gonna take in everything and look back at the Gretchen. Can I attempt either a society or a Latrian history roll to see if he can put two and two together and see what this is?
There's not really much known in the Latrian people about these types of creatures.
Eric, what were they doing when you stumbled across them?
I don't know if they were trying to worship this dog. I don't know if they were trying to do something to it. It's dead either way. And then one drew an arrow on me.
They draw the arrow on you before or after you shouted? I heard the shout.
Before I shouted. Then they fired.
All right. Jasper's gonna lean down and point over at the Gretch hound and make a gesture like give.
He looks to you, still quite scared, and a look of puzzlement comes across his face. Like, he doesn't know if you want to give him that or if you're trying to get him to give it to you, or he doesn't really understand your meaning.
Hope, could you grab the animal for me and bring it over?
Hope takes one look at this creature and feels fear. He's not good with dogs.
It's a stick if you have to, on.
Okay,
Just caved a Gretchen's skull and it can't be any more fearful than that. It's already dead.
okay. Hope does his best.
Pallid texture of the corpse's skin seems to leave this feeling clung to your hand and your fingers. There's nothing on it. It's just gross to touch. It's been dead for a while, too.
Behind the mask, you see Hope's frustration with this situation.
Jasper will just reach his gauntleted hand out and take it. Don't be infantile, it's fine. Here. And he puts it in front of the Gretchen. He sort of gestures from the Gretchen to him and sort of like pushes it a little closer. Is that what you wanted?
Everyone give me perception checks. -2. Yar, you're the only one that recognizes, and you don't quite catch the full extent of it, but a look akin to sorrow crosses the Gretchen's face. He looks at the Gretch hound.
Merrick, is it at all possible that you interrupted a funeral?
They tried to kill me. I'm not apologizing.
Or maybe somebody killed their dog, found it up there, and they're like, yeah, what's going on here? That's why they're arguing.
I don't know how to be polite about this, but Gretchen are bastards. We're done here. I'm going back to the road.
I was only interested in trying to find out if there was something else going on. I don't see any reason to murder the thing. Not a threat to us anyway. Turns around and looks to Yara.
Seems strange, considering what we know about Gretchens, that they don't tend to harbor any pleasant emotions, but I could swear this one seems upset about the death of this hound, or at least disturbed by it.
Maybe this is some sort of threat display, perhaps.
Jasper, turning your back to this Gretchen gave it the opening that it was looking for, and it lunges at you with a hidden dagger. You have a choice here. Do you dodge out of the way, or do you end its wretched life?
As this thing is lunging at him, he's just going to turn, and his blade is going to intercept as it's charging at him.
You bisect the creature, and it falls to the ground, reaching for its lower missing half, and goes still after a moment.
Glad we settled this. Can we go now?
Jasper's going to turn to Yara again. Maybe this was a warning. I don't know. This doesn't feel normal.
Possible they thought we are the ones who harmed their hound. That is why they reacted in such a hostile way, although they are known to be relatively hostile regardless of threat.
Then he's going to start walking back towards the cart as he's saying this. And regardless, keep an eye out. Whoever attacked these things, or seems to be attacking those things, they could attack us again.
Bessie gives you a little nuzzle with her horsey face.
Don't worry, whatever it is, I'm sure you'll fold it in half with a kick, won't you?
She extends her tongue for a salt lick.
Digs and pulls out another thing of salt and sort of helps lead the horse back to the road with the salt lick.
Third skill challenge.
I would like to do a stealth roll to help the party move forward a bit more carefully without drawing attention to ourselves. I imagine in her clan, they had specific methods to try and mask their footsteps, and we should also keep an eye out for any potential animal tracks so we can avoid any minor encounters with wildlife that might slow us down. We could probably show everyone how to wrap some soft leather around the soles of their shoes. That way their footsteps are a bit more quiet, less likely to cause a loud sound when they step on a twig or anything to that manner. And also how to kind of move quietly through the brush and around it without having to use our swords or other weapons to hack through it loudly, announcing to the whole area we're coming.
Fantastic. So into the twilight, Yara leads the party, and eventually it gets to becoming a little bit too dark for you to feasibly continue traveling. And that is when the party decides it's probably best to set up camp. Soren and Arundel thought ahead. They packed bedrolls and a tent that sleeps 4. What I would like to know from the party is, how are you going about your camp this evening? What is the plan here?
Watch for sure.
Okay, so we're going to establish a watch. You do need to eat a day's worth of food, so we're going to make sure that we subtract that from your rations. I did not inundate the game with the mechanics that are already present in it just to be annoying. I promise there's a reason.
Sounds good, I like it.
So who is going to be taking the first watch?
I'll do it.
Give me a perception check. Merrick, it is not too long into your watch before the mist that you saw during the day begins to become a veritable cloud at night with no sun to evaporate the moisture in the air. It is a wet, cold night, unseasonably cold for this early in the spring. The campfire itself is sputtering, and assuming that you continue to feed it for the next person who will be on watch, you find that you need more kindling sooner than you might had originally anticipated. How are you going to go about getting more? Or are you going to let the fire die out?
No, I'll keep it going. I will go not too far, like I'm going to stay within eye shot of the camp and just go around and gather some branches, twigs, anything that I can use to keep the fire going.
Roll me a survival check, please. Most of what you find is unfortunately covered in a thick layer of moss, like a green fur baked onto the exterior of the old and rotting bark. After a good 10 minutes of looking, you finally stumble upon a splintered tree. It seems like it was struck by lightning, maybe a day or two ago in a storm, because there is no moisture about it whatsoever, and it's still fresh enough that it has not become overgrown with the natural flora. You break it down and begin taking the pieces back to camp. What is your passive perception?
My passive is 15.
You make your way back to camp, kindling the fire with fresh wood, and in another hour, your watch is over. Who do you awaken?
I'll awaken Jasper.
Figure he's probably been sleeping in the tent. I think he tends to do that thing where he uses his backpack as the pillow. It stays mostly in his gear. He might, like, doff the leather plates, but the rest of it's kind of just all one piece ensemble. So, can I do for you?
Your turn. Got the fire going for you.
Cheers, Merrick. Sleep well. I've got it from here. Stand on and don the leather plates, grab his blades, and step out. He'll grab his little food pouch, too, and start nibbling while he's out there on watch.
Yeah, go ahead and make me a nature check, please, as you assume your post. About an hour into your watch, assuming that you all take 2-hour watches, there comes a silent stirring that breaks the light of the green nascent moon on the horizon, and you see something perched on a tree. 2 orbs flicker open as the creature's head twists to face you. A crest sits between you and the green, pale light of the moon. And noiselessly, this creature watches you. You are ultimately certain that this is a owl of some kind, but is far larger than any owl you've ever seen before.
Jasper's probably like, I think he was probably halfway through, like, eating stale bread. Probably has, like, a, simple stew going on the fire. I want to say, like, hardtack that he's been dipping in the water so it's actually edible. Breaks off part of it, puts it down, and stands up to face the owl. Not drawing his blades, by the way. They're still on his back, but he's very clearly sort of squaring off with this thing. Not trying to threaten it, but just make himself apparent in his size.
The wind whistling in the branches is all we can hear, and the soft crackle of the fire. We get this wide shot of Jasper in the light and this owl in the dark. I get a perception check from you. A crack louder than that of the flames steals your attention behind you. When you turn to face it, 2 red lights, still in the woods, just visible over the swirling mist. Maybe 100 feet from your camp. What do you do?
As he draws the 2 of his blades out, sort of keeps in a resting, ready stance. He looks back at the tent. These are eyes. How big is the head?
At least the size of Bessie's.
Seeing this, turns a little bit to look back at the bowl, look back quickly at the tent. Let's make sure that Bessie is, I imagine, nearby, sort of probably like leashed into the ground.
She's spooked. She doesn't like this. She's stirring uneasily, trotting in place and making uncomfortable noises.
Wolves, something's out here. Something big. Wake up. He's locking eyes with this thing.
When you turned your attention away from it, it disappeared. And as the other wolves get to their feet and get out of the tent, the last thing that we hear, the wail of a woman in mourning.